And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Bueno Virix, who I actually know by their actual name, but we're going to call him Bueno Virix for the sake of this. Asking the question, an interesting question when you really break down, who win the fight, Guts or Geralt of Rivia? Obviously, Guts being from Berserk and Geralt being from the Witcher games. Now, I've done the Witcher before, and I actually can't remember if I've done Guts on this series yet. I want to say I've done one video with Guts, but if not, I barely have talked about Guts. I'll admit, I didn't watch or read Berserker, or actually, excuse me, I think it's just called Berserk. But I do know enough about it to talk about the character, and I watched all The Witcher, and I've seen enough of the gameplay, know enough about Geralt to kind of break it down. With Geralt, who I obviously know a bit better than Guts, Geralt actually is technically Geralt Witchers are weird because they've been altered. Magically, they have been altered. They've had not poisons per se, but they've had mystical experiments done on them. They've had to they've been ingested with poisons and stuff like that, different herbs and stuff. So there's been alterations to their body, but technically speaking, Geralt is human. It's either Geralt or Geralt. I think it's Geralt. Geralt is technically human, but he's technically not. Witchers are in a gray area. But Geralt is well over several hundred years old. It's long believed that Witchers are motionless, but it's really more that Witchers, particularly Geralt, are just world-weary. When you've been around that long, you get tired of dealing with dumbasses and people and stuff like that. But they are not emotionless. But they are highly effective hunters, capable of just inherently using magic thanks to the experiments done on him. Geralt himself is a pretty famous Witcher. He is a master swordsman, stronger than your average man, and highly skilled reflexes, enhanced senses as well, capable of using things like telekinesis in the form of a shout. He's capable of using fire and ice magic, sealing magic to some degree. He's a very well-rounded individual. And there's more to it, but that's the overall sum of it. Guts from Berserk. Now, boy, Guts. I can't go off the top of my head of everything that went on in Guts' childhood. Needless to say, the guy had a pretty rough childhood. Ultimately, he ended up joining a gang. I can't remember the name of his group. But among them was an individual known, I believe, as either Griffith or Griffin. I think it's Griffin. And they became good friends, but ultimately Griffin went rogue, made back with demons, and basically created a bit of a hell on Earth. And, it basically stole and violated Guts' girlfriend. Guts literally had to mow through a bunch of demons, lost his arm in the process in the sense that he took his own arm off so he could continue to fight on. And he continued. The arm you see in this picture is a artificial arm he has. Guts is well beyond the normal strength of a human, simply for the fact that he wields, I believe it's called Dragon Slayer. Is so large in the sense that it was designed to take out a dragon, hypothetically. And unlike what you may think, he can move that thing with deadly speed. That thing is bladed in the blood of so many demons, evil entities, that it can slay ghosts and individuals on other planes of existence. His arm is also equipped with, I know it's equipped with a crossbow. I think it's also equipped with a rechargeable flamethrower, kind of like a load it up and fire it. But his most advantageous piece of equipment is a double-edged sword, the Berserker armor, which when he activates it, allows him to just keep fighting, basically completely dulls his nerves to the umpteenth degree. So he just can't feel anything. The problem is, even as his body's breaking, it'll just, for instance, if his arm just suddenly snaps into a different direction, the armor will recalibrate his arm to the right position. He'll still use it so long as he's got the nerves to use it. But he's not feeling, it's still broken. It's not healing or anything like that. So his body will just continue to be broken and dismantled. Guts also, hence Berserk, is known for going into a Berserker rage in many ways. And certain instances. So he can dull his pain even more, enhance his strength, speed, abilities, all through just going into a berserker rage. So if these two met in a fight, this is an easy scenario to put up how they would meet in a fight. They're both hunting a demon, and they both end up crossing paths with each other. So how does that fight break down? Well, I don't think to be honest, these are two characters who actually probably wouldn't end up fighting. They would probably talk it out there because they're both people with shared experiences of pain. These guys could actually get along, but a team up with Guts and Geralt would be awesome. I want someone to write that fan comic. But obviously, in this scenario, they have to fight. So who would actually be the aggressor more than likely between them? It would probably be Guts. Both these guys have pretty even temperaments, but Guts obviously is prone to berserker outbursts. So his patience will wear thinner much quicker than the several hundred-year-old world-weary warrior. So he'll probably start off. They're going to probably be at range at first. He'll throw some crossbow bolts at him. Geralt would easily have the reflexes to block or just use a magic to blast him away. Geralt, if he blocks it with his blade, he'll immediately throw a shout. We'll call it a shout. Throw a shout out at Guts. Now, Guts has fought demons, gods, whatnot. So he can certainly take a shot for that. That's not to say it wouldn't maybe throw him back. It'd probably be like, pooh, he'd be like, ugh. Geralt, and then him and Geralt finally square off. Now, this is where things get good because obviously blade to blade, Guts has the stronger blade with actual magical blades. Rather than my puppy's belly real quick because she's all comfy on the couch. Your baby. But yeah, Guts clearly has the more powerful blade. But even as fast as Guts can use it, compared to other people, it's not a agile weapon. Like you can't see him using it as a one. You can't see him one-handed using it in like in a fencing style. You're not going to see him fencing with this thing. It is still, he can still quick draw it surprisingly fast, but it's more like because of its size, it's not good for finesse fighting. Geralt, on the other hand, wields a longsword. It's still a very large sword, but the man of his size, power, and strength, and agility can wield that thing. Especially if you just watch the TV series, how quickly the moves that Henry Cavill's doing that. Like he's moving fast, man. He's whereas Guts. It's a perfect example of what this fight would actually go and break down. Because first off, both of them can see the other's weapons. Geralt's not freaking stupid. He's not going to get close enough to have that cleave him in half, unless he can get in and disarm him. So, but I liken this to a situation in, oddly enough, an anime, Rurouni Kenshin, where he fought, Saito? What was his name? Basically the brawler, and he had a not Zanpakuto from Bleach, but Zambato, I believe it's pronounced. A giant. It was basically a horse killer, and he was strong enough to use it. But Kenshin pointed out very quickly that despite the power of the blade, it was so big and cumbersome, you could only do a swipe or a downward strike. Now, Guts' blade actually isn't as big as that, so he's probably stronger than Saito was. Again, I think that was the character's name. So he is going to have a bit, and he's had a lot more experience with this blade. So he will probably be able to block a little bit easier and more capably. But it's still not going to be a weapon that, unless he can get a clean hit on Geralt, like take him out and cleave him in two or slice him in half, he's not going to be getting a kill shot on Geralt with this. Geralt has had too much battle experience. He's he's probably at minimum comparable to Guts, so in terms of physical combat. So all Geralt really has to do is get within his guard is what he has to do. And Geralt is fast enough and has enough magic to do that. So, he charges in, comes in quick for Guts goes for his blade, but he uses again to shout and blows him back, so stops him drawing his blade. He gets in close, and Guts realizes oh crap. It's like crap, he's gonna get me. Now, Guts is durable. Like, the dude can take I think once took a blade straight through the cheek and just kept going. Is it my puppy? He's really cute. I can hear her snoring, just like, it's adorable. Um, but I'm pre-recording this, as you can tell, by the way, yeah, for Friday, for tomorrow, or technically today. Where was I? Oh yeah. Guts is durable, but he doesn't. If Guts, who is if Guts is conscious and not like in a berserker state, he's not going to want to just willingly take a shot unless he knows he can get a good kill shot in on the guy. And unfortunately, you can tell Geralt's not somebody he's going to get an easy shot in on. So he activates the berserker armor. Luckily, right now, the berserker armor is not going to do anything bad to him. It's actually going to dull any nerves and pain he's feeling, and he's still fine. So he activates it, and it does block Geralt's blade. So now Geralt and him are duking it out. He disarms Geralt as well, who now they're duking it out fist to fist. Unfortunately, he still has also the flamethrower in his hand. So he immediately activates the flamethrower, which does tag Geralt quite a little bit. But Geralt then throws him into a wall, grabs a sword, and then basically tries to aim for a chink in the armor, and nails it right there. But Guts doesn't feel it, so he just grabs it and then just smacks Geralt in the head, who starts kind of reeling back, grabs the blade out of him, just throws it at Geralt, who is able to avoid it. He goes for his Dragon Slayer, comes in and slams it down. Geralt rolls out of the way again, using every bit of magic he's got in there. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Geralt does have a freeze or an electrical ability. He's got many abilities. He actually does have quite a few abilities. Unfortunately, nothing's really slowing Guts down at this point because he's so dulled. His nerves are completely dead at the moment. So the fight's going down, and I do believe it does. His body is starting to break a little bit, especially because Geralt has been throwing him around a bit. But Geralt is now starting to huff and puff. Guts is starting to get a little tired too. These guys are going toe to toe with each other. So who's going to win? One has this. Both of them have their swords back in their hand at this point, and it comes down to Guts. Guts basically, giving. Guts at this point is kind of just giving in to the berserker, and without being able to feel pain, he's just keeps going. But the problem is, at that point, he's not able to think. And Geralt, using one last bit of magic, causes the cliff they're next to start crumbling down, fall down, just bury Guts. He stands by because he needs to be sure that he's dead. Guts breaks out of there, but just as he breaks out of there, because if you actually look at the berserker armor, I'm just gonna look up Guts berserker armor. If you actually look at the berserker armor, there is two. If I'm looking at this right, there is a glaring weakness in the way it's designed, and that is the fact that there is a mouth hole and there are two eye holes that Guts can see through. And yes, the mouth can close if I'm not mistaken, but it remains open most of the time. And for all the nerve deadening that you're going to get from the berserker armor, that doesn't stop death. And Geralt is pretty precise, and he's a precision killer more than a blunt force killer. So as soon as Guts gets out of there, shakes up dust, all of a sudden Geralt has the blade right through his throat, and then the armor deactivates and he just drops. So this would be a close match. I give the win to Geralt because of experience, because he's the faster fighter in this case, with every weapon he has on call. And he has enough magic to keep Guts at bay. And he's seriously, and again, world weary, a lot of experience. But Guts would be, especially once Guts activates the berserker armor, he would be a seriously tough opponent for Geralt to put down. There's a large percentage of this where Guts would win. I'm giving the overall edge to Geralt. But ultimately, who do you think would win? I choose Geralt. Do you think it'd be Guts? Do you think it'd be Geralt? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. So as you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. I'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, superhero magic, what if, anything to do on the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for who would win. Later.